My name is Mr. Anderson, and I am the voice of written sins. But truthfully, I'm more than just the voice of written sins or just the creator of written sins. I'm also my own creator. I actually do things. I do things for myself, believe it or not, like make comic books. I'm just not a creator of just a website, but I have my own thing. And this year, I've been on Kickstarter way too long. And I didn't realize that, honestly. I didn't know how long I was on Kickstarter until I started to actually look at how long I'd been on Kickstarter. And it's been a long time for me being on Kickstarter. Too long, as a matter of fact. We're going to go over my journey for the year. I'll take any questions from people. I hope some of this helps. And of course, this will also act as one last pitch for Fetish Babies Aftermath. I hope you guys enjoy the video. As I said, if you guys have any questions that you want to be talked about, please do not hesitate to let me know the questions that you want me to kind of answer for you. I'll be happy to do so. I am very humbled. I wanted to start this by saying I'm very humbled by all the support that I've gotten this year. And that's honestly not me trying to be like at all coy. I mean, thank you. I can't say it enough to all those people who believed in me. I can't tell you what that means unless you experience it yourself. It is weird. I'm not a huge fan of asking for help. I never have. I probably should ask for help more than I do. Often I take the burden of things on my own. I don't ask for help when I do need them. So coming to Kickstarter was a weird experience for me in just that regard, because Kickstarter is about me asking for help. It's saying I can't do this on my own and I need you guys to team with me. So I was able to get some just, I mean, absolutely amazing support. We started this journey in January, and one of the scariest days of my life, and that's just Jackson in the background playing with Winnie the Pooh book. But one of the scariest moments of my life was launching that first Kickstarter, which is on the screen now, Fetish Babies. It was really scary, and it was like, oh my God, can I possibly do this? Is this something that's actually going to matter? Am I going to be able to get this funded? Is it something that's going to happen? Are people going to believe in me enough? And sure enough, we were able to fund with 95 backers to raise $2,521. Now, one of the things that really, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the fact that we funded and all that, but right away, I noticed something that was kind of bothersome. I noticed the people who were backing my project, there was this idea because I ran Written Sins, they had to back it, or people were backing it just to back it to, I guess, appease me, to keep me happy so I would continue to support them. And it was kind of a really horrible feeling that people thought one was for the other. And it kind of left me with the rest of the year feeling like, a little worried about promoting too heavy because of the weight of Written Sins behind me. And I think that stayed with me the rest of the year with the way I ran Kickstarters. And I think that there was some mistakes in that I have to work on going forward to next year. Because those were mistakes that I made with doing that I let get into my head. Ultimately, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have cared who was backing me, I guess, for what reasons, other than to make sure everyone knew they didn't have to back me. That was something I definitely needed to make sure that everyone knew that no one has to back me to get the support of Written Sins. But beyond that, I guess I was a little sensitive to it. I didn't want anyone feeling like they had to do something. That was horrible to me. It was heartbreaking. A couple of people had mentioned it to me, and I never kind of went as hard for promoting any of my Kickstarters after that. But after we got off with Fetish Babies, which is honestly a project that's very important to me and very powerful to me, because it speaks to something that either you get it or you don't, that you've had something held against you your whole life. And some people get it. And I'm not talking about being a nerd or a geek and teased for who you are. I'm talking about having something literally held over your head. People trying to turn something about you that you didn't choose into a negativity thing that they hold against you. And it's a horrible feeling. It really, really is a horrible, shitty feeling. So I wrote this book for the people who have things held above their head and are treated like shit for something they never chose. To me, I didn't choose to be into bondage. I didn't choose to want to be a writer. Those are not things that I chose, just like I didn't choose my skin color and I didn't choose my sexual orientation. Those are not choices I've made in my life. I choose what I subscribe to. I choose what books I read and don't read. But I don't choose the rest of it. And to be able to say to you honestly that this has been something that's held against me. And I've had bosses kind of threaten the fact that I was into BDSM to try to hold it over my head. And I flat out told them I would sue them. It's a serious thing. And that was why this project became so important. But, you know, as many creators, I just didn't have one project this year. Right after this had launched, and ironically, the show is coming up now, there was this talk of a Comic-Con in Fort Myers in my hometown, where I am down here in Florida. And they asked me if I had anything family friendly. And I was like, no, but that's actually a good idea. I should have something family friendly. That'd be really cool. And Jax the Andersin was born. So I'm still trying to fill all the goals of Fetish Babies and get everything out, which we had a printing problem with, which I'll go over just as soon as I talk about this. So Jax is created. And here we are, Jax the Andersin. I make a kid's book. And as I'm making a kid's book, I wind up making a monster book. And I get involved with the fourth monkey. Now, all that's going to be important in a few minutes. So back to Fetish Babies. I do want to talk about 3 mistakes I made that I want you guys to learn. So I did say I would talk about some mistakes and give you guys some heads up and some good insider advice from what I've learned. First mistake I made was when I went into this, I didn't have a printing partner. I didn't think paying people to do something was going to be so hard. I ran into some static because of the name. I ran into some problems because of that. And let's just talk about it right now. The elephant in the room. Fetish Babies is about sexuality. Yes, there is a sexual aspect. And granted, I always say this, not all fetishes are about sexuality. However, for Barbara, our character, bondage is a sexual fetish. So I'm not going to say it's not. So Barbara has a sexual fetish. That's something that is a desire of hers. So of course there's going to be sexuality in our book. And we do show some stuff, and I don't want to do it on Facebook because someone will report it. And we'll talk more about people reporting shit in a minute. But so yes, there is sexuality. We have some sexually suggestive images. And you know what? I'm going to do it. I can call out about 75% of creators out there, both artists and writers, that have used sexuality to lure readers, to lure people to buy their art, they've used it deliberately as a sales tool. And that is something that we've been accused of that I have not done. None of my art was meant as a sales tool. Even the Carlos Villas piece that we've gotten into some shit over was never about that. In the second book, we did try to go that route in the beginning. We were trying to, because Alyssa thought I didn't use it enough. And we did commission some art early on that we never wound up using as part of the project. We paid for it. It's ours to own. It might wind up in, when we get to a graphic novel, we might put it in the graphic novel. We just never went forward with that campaign. I didn't feel it was the right time. So there are artists and writers out there using sex to sell their comic books, whether it's on the cover, their alternate covers. They're using sex to sell things. Charlie says, how many covers have an ass shot? Most of them. I'm there with you, buddy. Yeah, and he's right. So all of these people are using sexuality to sell their comic books, something that Fetish Babies never did. You look at our cover for Fetish Babies is, and I can show it to you right here. That's the cover of Fetish Babies. That's it. And that's because our story isn't about sex. It has sexuality, it's not about sex. But then you go to all these other people using it, and they're just using it to, like he said, ass shots. They have their characters and suggestive things. Marvel and DC does this. But we've been prosecuted all year about that. Now, here's the thing about everyone who's used sex as a tool. Good job. I don't blame you. I think that it is. See, I'm not against sexuality. I don't have a problem with sexuality. I'm not a Puritan. I'm okay with people using sex to sell things. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me. You know, if you want to do something, I mean, there's distasteful stuff that's done out there, but God bless, it's your choice. Use sexuality. Because here's the thing, as human beings, we like fucking sex. I don't care, and there's a pun there, fucking sex. I don't care what anyone says. Sexuality drives the human nature. It does. So the creators out there who are expressing sexual covers are doing their job because they're speaking to the fantasy that is creation. It is ridiculous that we have this like mentality that sexuality is evil and we can't talk about it, but we can sell Viagra pills all the day long. We have people deciding who can be together and who can't in laws. It's ridiculous. I don't blame anyone who uses sexuality on a cover. God bless them. For me, we'll use it. We'll get playful with sexuality. It's coming. I just didn't feel it was right for the first 2 issues because I knew we were going to get shit. I was sitting with Richard Rivera at Spooky, and he looks around and he looks at me because he knows all this shit that I've been going through that we'll talk about in a few minutes about being censored and where this is leading, this conversation on Facebook. And he looks around and he's there like, you know, for the guy who's got the most sexually charged book in the room, you honestly are not overly sexual with how you produce it, with how you do things. Like a lot of the things you do are very tastefully done and done that and done well. And that's the point. For me, I'm a huge fan of sexuality, but I think there's a purpose in a way, and I'm not going to judge anyone. You guys all use sexuality how you want to use sexuality. You're all grown. And if you're not grown, don't draw things that are sexual. But all of you who are grown, you all know. I mean, you all can figure it out. We all like to talk about sex. We all like to, I mean, look at the cosplayers. You know, I keep hearing about how things are supposed to be you know, how this is 2017 and women's lib and all that, and women can't be sexual objects. Let me give you a little key in here. We're all sexual objects. We all like to be looked after or looked at or made to feel pretty, as it were. That's the whole point. We want to be desired. That's just a human nature thing. And the people who probably are the most against sexuality are the people who need it the most. Yeah, I said it. You know, they're the people who need to rectify with that side of them. And I know that there's asexual people who don't give me the lecture. I don't need the lecture. Because even asexual people will talk about how they're asexual all the time. So guess what? Their sexuality, being asexuality, is important to them. Sexuality is important to us as creatures. So all the shit we've gotten with censorship just boggles my mind because it's not about sexuality. It can't be about sexuality because I could call out, not even to lie to you, at least 100 creators right now who have used sexuality on their covers to sell their books, something I haven't done. Doesn't mean I won't when the time is right. And I think I've actually got it called up during this thing where I'll show how we're going to start using sexuality because it's time to get playful. I had a more important story to tell at first that I wanted to be taken serious. Not that I think sexuality won't be able to take you serious, but if I had started with sexual covers that kind of leaned towards that, I would get the pitchforks out. People crying, oh, it's just a porn, it's just a porn. And that's something we've been in uphill. Now, to talk about the censorship, Facebook has the right to censor. I will fully admit that, and I understand that. And I don't like censorship. I think censorship is the death of art. Just because someone makes something I don't like doesn't mean that it stops me from being who I am. It doesn't threaten my existence. I believe censorship is the most evil thing that you can do in the world. When you censor people, you tell them how they have to feel, how they have to think, what they have to do in life. And I'm not a fan of censorship. With all that said, Facebook has the right to do things. My problem has never been that Facebook has a problem with fetish babies. It's the fact that they have a problem with it because it's about fetish. Because it's not the sexuality, because I can name a dozen things that off the top of my head just that are on my feed right now that are sexually charged. So it's not that. So then we talk about the haters. Okay, so some people have been reporting this shit. It's gotten to the point now where Facebook is actually starting to ask me, the creator, hey, was this spam? And that tells me when someone's over-reporting that that's what happened. So I've had a couple haters recently with this project that probably followed me around and made my life harder. To them, I'll just say the only thing I can say. Fuck you. I don't give a shit. We're not going anywhere. Report it all fucking day long. Be that loser. Sorry, but it's the fucking truth. If you have nothing better to do than go around and stalk me and fucking report shit that we're doing, and all the people who are trying to help me and report their shit, you're a fucking loser. Get a life. You know, now if you were really like somehow offended by this, I won't say fuck you. You know, you have the right to be fucking offended. But you know what? I have the right to fucking offend you too. Because that's what freedom of speech and freedom of expression really is. I'm not doing anything that is so fucking horrible that if you opened your head and opened your mind for 10 seconds, you would realize that there's nothing evil about it. Maybe you have a problem with sexuality. And if you have a problem with sexuality, you need to grip onto that and figure out that sexuality is not something that's evil. I mean, my God, I could go an hour and a half about talking about how America has been guilted into sexuality and how we have to conform to this idea of what we have to be. And we can't talk about this, and we can't do this, and we can't dress this way. If you dress this way, you're asking for trouble. What the fuck is wrong with America these days? Jesus Christ. A woman should be able to dress any way she wants to dress and be safe in America at any given moment. The idea that it becomes her fault is a huge fucking problem. You know, a woman should be able to dress any way she wants and not be harassed by men. Plain and simple. And don't get it twisted, women. You women do things at times, too, that are sexually harassing. We have to work on that as a species, and it's very clear we have a long way to go with everything that's going in Hollywood. But here's the truth. That stems from us not being comfortable with our sexuality. Because when projects like Fetish Babies comes up, we can't talk about it openly because everyone's afraid to have a conversation about sex. What the fuck? You all came from sex. Sex is okay. It's human. We need to get over our shit. Nudity is beautiful. The human body is beautiful. You know, I'm not really into the male human body. You know, that's to say I can't see guys that are attractive. I can. I'm very straight. I always said I wish I was bisexual. It's a true thing. I would like more choices. Because I'm kind of greedy. But no, I mean, kidding around aside, we all have attraction. This is just a human driving force. That's why there are billions of people on this fucking planet. You know, and it's okay to be a sexual creature as long as you're not hurting someone. And that's the line. Don't hurt people with your sexual side. And I do think, and I just want to say this, I know there's a lot of sexual indiscretion coming out right now, but I do think that there's a line that's being crossed. And I'll just say this. I think some of the things that people are saying, if someone makes a sexual advance towards you and you didn't like it, that doesn't mean that they sexually harassed you. It's the moment you say no and they keep trying something or they do something vulgar that it's sexual harassment. Or it goes over that line, not going by the work standard where anything is sexual harassment now, by the way, but just talking about it in a real legal definition. If someone just tries to ask you on a date or is flirty with you, that's not what you think it is, because I've seen some things posted about that. And that all stems back to us not being comfortable with sexuality in America. And that's sad. It really is sad that we came over here to be free, to be the people who are free. You know, to be the world that would be you know, freedom of being who you are to be so confused about sexuality. It's so clear. Don't live by anyone's values but your own, and don't force your values on anyone else. If someone's hurting someone, that's an issue. If they're not hurting anyone, there's no fucking issue. Do what you want. We all have a fetish. We all have a kink. There are some people who don't like this. There are some people who like that. Grow the fuck up and stop judging people. You know, I mean, if you're a judgmental asshole who thinks that you have the right to tell other people how to live, you're a fucking asshole. Plain and simple. You don't have that fucking right. Laws have been changed in the last couple of years, proving that we don't even get it right with laws telling people how to live. So everyone needs to chill and go get laid. Go have sex. Go be honest about yourself. Because I think a lot of it, too, is that some people are repressed. Some people aren't comfortable with their own sexuality. And that's horrible because they're afraid to say who they are. Because they think society wants them to live a certain way. I'm not going to live how society tells me to live outside of laws. I understand I have to follow laws. I don't agree with all the laws. I follow them all. I never speed. No, not me. I'm always following every law. But kidding around aside, laws should be followed. And beyond that, be yourself and be true to yourself and fuck everything else. And that's what Fetish Babies is about. It's about showing the humanity in something that isn't shown. And it's a call to grow up. It's a call to stop judging people for things you don't understand. If you don't understand something, maybe get to fucking know it before you judge it. You can't say, I don't understand it, it's weird. Well, you know what's weird is the person doesn't understand something and they don't actually learn about it. That's weird. Because if you're making judgments without knowledge, that's wrong. So that was kind of a long rant about sexuality, but it was important. The mistakes I made with this Kickstarter, to circle back to it, was the fact that a lot of printers suddenly were like, oh, we don't know if we could print that. I actually had to give out PDF copies to people so they could actually see. Can I print that? Think about that for a second. There were actually companies I was willing to pay to have money to print Fetish Babies that suddenly had a fucking conscience problem. Meanwhile, I know what some of these companies have printed. And they've printed alternative covers that were deliberately sexual that they had no fucking problem about. So again, we circle back to this bias against people with fetishes. Because there have been some books. Oh my fucking God, have there been some books printed that are nothing but like smut. And that's fine. There's nothing. Again, it's sexuality. You don't like it, don't buy it. That's your vote. You don't get to censor people. But literal companies did. So make sure you have your printer lined up. I made that mistake. Second, don't make 11x17s and don't make t-shirts for your first couple projects. Big mistake I made, and here's why. And it didn't dawn on me till later when I was at a show. And we sell a good amount of t-shirts for Written Sins. So now here's where it's going to make sense. So Written Sins sells so many t-shirts because Written Sins has become a recognizable brand. People know Written Sins. So when you start your project and you put a lot of 11x17s and a lot of t-shirts, it comes down to this. You know why I don't take pictures of people buying my book? Because this is exactly what you're asking them to do. Hey, you just spent money on a book you haven't read. Now I want you to take a picture with it to be an endorsement. I would never fucking endorse a book that I hadn't read yet. I've had people say, can you pose for a picture? And at times I've said no. I've been polite about it, and I'm like, no, I just don't do pictures. But at this point, I will tell people, look, I'm not taking a picture with anything I haven't read yet. Because that is me endorsing it. I'm not endorsing a book, and it could be the best book in the world, but give me that opportunity to make that choice on my own, to think it's the best book in the world. Don't ask me to take a picture with it, and that's the same thing. When I'm selling t-shirts for Fetish Babies, to people who've never read Fetish Babies, that's what I'm asking them to do. I'm asking them to endorse something. So that was a mistake I made that I suggest no one ever makes. And by the way, I saw Charlie. I saw the joke, yes. That is my line because I'm kind of greedy. But no, I mean, you know, ultimately, my God, really? I made such a huge mistake with that. I could not believe I didn't notice that. Because I've gone to shows and I wouldn't buy a book with a t-shirt that I hadn't read yet. It never dawned on me. I forgot to look at it like a fan. So when you're looking at your Kickstarter, look at it like you're a fan of the creator, but not the book. So be like, oh, well, you know, I like Rob. I know he's a good guy. I know he runs Written Sins. And I know he says I don't have to buy his book because he runs Written Sins, which is really cool to Rob because he doesn't pressure people. But I do want to give his book a chance, but why would I want his t-shirt? I haven't read his book yet. Why would I want to buy his t-shirt? Why do I want an 11 by 17 poster? And we're going to talk about 11 by 17s in a second, but why would I want his 11 by 17 poster for this? And I'm just going to block this so we can go over something because I can't show it on Facebook, so I want to get down to something here. So in my rewards thing, we were doing like 11 by 17s. And I can show that because it's smaller. And we were doing t-shirts, and we did all this, and I thought I was so freaking clever. And then we went out, we made more 11 by 17s. I thought I was so smart. I was going to be doing all this shit. The stupidest idea I ever made. You want to know why? No one had read Fetish Babies yet. Why would they want a t-shirt? Sorry, I had to check on Jax. He got too quiet for a second. So yeah, why would anyone want an 11 by 17 or a t-shirt or something they never read? So I did make t-shirts for Jax the Andersin because I hadn't figured it out yet. But I didn't for And They Call Us Monsters because it dawned on me while on the road. And Jax the Andersin was the last thing that we actually had a t-shirt for. We won't be doing t-shirts for new projects. We'll only be doing things based on past projects and the Written Sin shirts. All right, so here we go. So then we're doing this amazing stuff with Kickstarter. We had great art from Chris Mad. We did everything else right. The other mistake I made, which I really think that I could have done better with, was, and I did this again with the new one, I don't show enough art in my project from the book. I do a great job talking about my creative team. I do a great job explaining it, but I don't show a lot of art from the book. And I think that's kind of like, I don't like trailers because in a trailer I can figure out the book, and I think I do that wrong in the way I set up my Kickstarter. I'm afraid to show too much. Like I show a pivotal scene right here because it was an important scene, and that was a big moment for me because I wanted people to get to that moment to wonder why she was in that moment. So I wanted people to read the book. But it's hard. It's hard choosing the shots that you're going to use to do it. So, I mean, it's give and take. You don't want to show too much art. I can show about this much of that picture, and then we have to block you again. Facebook can't see. All right, so here we go, back in focus. But, I mean, it was all about being powerful and important, and I think we did that. And then we moved on to Jax the Andersin. And while that was printing, I wound up doing Jax. And Jax happened very quickly, actually, because like I said, it was April. And I had started And They Call Us Monsters right when I started Jax. And I got with Dave and where I was talking. And this all became like literally, I wrote the book while I was on chat with the person who's running the upcoming show in what is it, 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks from now, there's going to be that show that's here in Fort Myers. So in 2 weeks, I'll be hanging out with Fort Myers crowd, and they had asked about this book. So I wrote this book literally while talking to them in about 20 minutes, and I wound up talking to Dave Brown on social media after I posted something like, I want to make a kid's book. Who's in? I want to team up with a creator and make something happen. And Dave Brown stepped up, and a couple other creators did, but Dave Brown, I really liked his style. We really got to talking. And we literally were signed to a mutual beneficial contract where we're partners in this project. By the next day, we were working on it, and that begins to get processed. So now I have Jax the Andersin going. I have And They Call Us Monsters starting, which was started out as just a story about superheroes, which is something I actually want to make this year. It's a story I have. I don't want to talk more about it yet because it's not made, but once again, I went to social media. Hey, I want to do a book about superheroes. What artists do I know that are interested? And I want it to be all black and white. And obviously, it's not black and white what we wound up with. But I was so inspired by his art. I honestly didn't feel it would work for the superhero thing, but I saw talent. I saw raw talent, and I wanted to be part of it. And I wrote him this story after we went back and forth for a week on the superhero one, and it wasn't working. And I said, look, no offense, I just don't see your art working, but I love your art. What do you think about monsters? He's like, oh, I really like monsters. I was like, give me a day, I'll get you a story. I was so excited like a kid. Within 30 minutes, he had this story. And we actually built the book off of that. And I remember I got back all the art, and I'd forgotten that I'd only written that story in 30 minutes. So there were a couple holes in it. There were literally some holes in it. And if it wasn't for Chuck, my editor on the project, man, would that have been a shit show. We went back and forth, and we filled in the holes because I saw there were some New York City fucking potholes in that story that we needed to work out. But I mean, I was so excited about that. So then this is being made at the same time. And then I'm going back and forth on the Fourth Monkey on something I worked on. So now I have all three of these projects going at the same time. Now, originally the Fourth Monkey was going to go live. I started with this at the end of last year, early beginning of this year. I was still waiting for some other anthologies, but I really like the creator behind it. James, I knew a little bit, but Danny's a great guy. I really, really appreciate Danny. He does the Untold. I decided yesterday we're going to go with Danny, because every time I try to say Daniel, I say Danielle. So I'm going to call him Danny from now on. So anyway, I started working on the Fourth Monkey back and forth, and this was between, like, I'd say once we got off of Kickstarter to about April, I was working on all these projects. And in April, we had already given out, we had just gotten the books printed for Fetish Babies. We were sending them out. And I was starting my Comic-Con tour of the year. So all of a sudden, it must have been May, I get all the art back for Jax the Andersin at once. Like, I just, Dave's like, here, it's done. I'm like, oh, cool, shit. I didn't even know, okay, we have a book. What do I do? Do I Kickstart it? And I was like, yeah, let's fucking Kickstart it. I was like, let's see how many people we can get to back this. I think it's a great idea. And I did. I did have concerns about Jax the Andersin. And I had Chuck come on board and make sure the story was good. As we were, right before we went to printer and before I lettered it. Well, I think I actually lettered it, and we did it from lettering. I don't remember how we did it. I know that we did it. I think it was lettered, and then we went over the lettering from the book, because I think it was, and they call us monsters. No, it might have been just the script form. I might have just given him script. Either way, we had it put together rather quickly, and I was like, yeah, let's Kickstart it. Let's get it out there. So now I start the Kickstarter, and all of a sudden, And They Call Us Monsters comes in. And I had been working on And They Call Us Monsters, the different pages, for a while. I'd been lettering them as I'd gotten them. And all of a sudden, I'm like, shit, do I launch this one? And I'm like, oh, crap. So we were working on And They Call Us Monsters for a while, because all the art had come back by about April, and we had started working on it over the summer. No, all the art, I'm sorry, came back around end of May, June. I had a couple other pages that were missing, but I was basically lettering it at that point. And all of a sudden, we have this problem where we had just gotten off Kickstarter with Fetish Babies, and I didn't plan to be back to Kickstarter until October. But here are two projects. I'm like, yeah, man, let's Kickstart. Why when I'm at my table? Let's see what we can raise. And I didn't ask for as much on that as I did Fetish Babies. Because the problem with Jax the Andersin, it is ultimately about my son. It has a bigger purpose. But I mean, I can see how people would think that's a vanity thing. And They Call Us Monsters, I knew I was going into it without any real there wasn't a lot of press for it. There wasn't a lot of hype for it before we went into it. So both projects I was like going into kind of blind. With Fetish Babies, we had talked about Fetish Babies a full year before I'd launched it. But now I had these two books ready basically at the same time, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do these two back to back. So we started with Jax. Jax goes, and we did a great thing where me and Jax went on a world tour. Well, not a world tour, an East Coast tour, but we did live videos and all that. And we raised money for it basically from a whole new fan base. There weren't a lot of people who had backed Fetish Babies that showed up for Jax the Andersin, which was kind of cool. I didn't lean heavily onto Written Sins because I felt weird about it. I used it a little bit, but not as much as I had used it for Fetish Babies, because I still had felt wary about people feeling they had to back it. And I kind of even said to people they didn't have to. There are a bunch of people, I could have gotten about 10, 15 other backers who I told, don't worry about it, don't back it if it's not for you. Because, I mean, it's a kid's book. A lot of people didn't have a kid. And at this point, I couldn't mix Fetish Babies in here. So when you look at the rewards, there's not a lot of rewards here. I think I might have slipped in a Advocates. Yeah, the Advocate shirt showed up for Written Sins, but I don't even think that was it. That was the only way. And this is how the Advocate shirt started. And that was only added at the very end when a couple of my friends had asked me if there was something they could back me on besides the book because they don't have kids. So I was actually very thrilled that we were able to raise it. But again, the mistake I made here is I didn't put my project first above every other person's projects, and I kind of let it take the backseat to other people who are promoting at the time. Because, again, I felt shy about promoting it. I think it was also because with even the first round of Fetish Babies, we had some shit. And I was kind of like just so tired of fucking going against the wall. And this should have been a moment for me to realize that maybe I needed to take a break from Kickstarter and maybe not launch another Kickstarter right behind it. But it's not what I did. Right after that, I launched And They Call Us Monsters. We had delayed it for about a week or two. And this one starts off really good. I had no problem really pushing it. We had a higher goal for this one because we were going into Halloween. I was very proud of it. And then, boom, Irma and some other hurricanes start happening. And we're on the road a lot. And it falls to a place where I'm not promoting it right. And I've just been on Kickstarter way too long at this point. And I literally I'm having Kickstarter fatigue at this point. I'm so tired of talking about my own projects. I'm not talking about them. They Call Us Monsters the way I should. I'm not celebrating it the way I should. I'm almost terrified to share it now because I feel like I'm being greedy. And I'm just dying to get off Kickstarter. And then Irma happens, and I kept waiting. I was like, oh, the last week I'll really go in. Last week we'll have a solid finish. Because I remember with Fetish Babies, we raised $500 in the last week without trying. And I think that I never gave And They Call Us Monsters the push it should. And then Irma hit, and I was fucked. I went to my friends, and I was like, can you help? I don't know if I'll have internet. I don't even know where I'll be. We have to evacuate. And my friends really came through. And again, thank you. I mean, I have amazing friends, and that's just the truth. So they helped me through a tight spot. We wouldn't have funded without them stepping up. So thank you guys. You rock. And again, I was gun shy about my project, and I should be the biggest advocate for myself, but I have trouble advocating for me over other people. And that's a problem I need to work on, but it's also a problem you guys got to look for. The anthology of written sins. Okay, George says the idea for the next project, Sinsful. The anthology of written sins. The anthology get a new indie promising creators with developed creators to create an awesome anthology short stories to get new creators out there. If you run it, George, I'm for it. George, you want to run the project and I'll help you? You be the point man on that project, and I'll be the backup on it. I'm with you, man. I'll definitely do that. We've talked about that. I'll talk about the anthology now since George brings it up. So, all right. So now I'm completely tired of being on Kickstarter at this point, to be honest with you. I've had a lot going on. For those who don't know, Written Sins was actually hacked, or an attempted hack happened, because we had announced, and this is just the truth. We announced we were opening a giant mega indie comic book store, which we're still opening. We delayed it because of Irma, and there's a lot of catching up I've had to do. But And They Call Us Monsters is generally the same time when I was at Dragon Con, which Dragon Con was horrible on my back. It really caused a lot of issues for me physically. For those who don't know, I am disabled. I try not to show it, but in the last couple of days, I've been really feeling it. Might be why my voice sounds a little more growly than normal, because I'm in a lot of pain today, both the migraine and the body. So there's no stop to me, though. I get back up, and here we are doing a video. But we got hacked. And they didn't figure it out yet first when I was talking to my Bluehost provider, because whoever was trying to get in was being very smart about how they were trying to get in. And they were trying to get in, according to Bluehost, by using someone on my domain who shares it with me. The server, I'm sorry, who shares a server for my domain with me. And they were trying to attack us through them. So it was not only my site getting hacked, but a site that, according to Bluehost, had kind of been given up on, because people create sites and then it's not like a huge success on day one and they give up. So I started getting attacked sideways to the site. I guess they were trying, and if the person who hacked me is listening to this video, first off, please don't do it anymore. Second, there's no personal information on our site other than emails. So you're not going to get anything. I have all of our financial stuff taken care of from PayPal. And I do this on purpose because, drum roll please, PayPal is now in charge of security, and I don't have to be. And I don't want to be in charge of security. I don't want to be the reason someone loses their information. I know I could make more money by going other routes. I don't want to make more money. I'm not a greedy person. I'm happy with just making what I should make and going on about my life and letting other people do things. Sometimes it's smarter to let people who know better do what they gotta do. Like, if you want to promote something, I'm the guy to come to, unless you're me. If you're me coming to me, then you treat me like shit. But the rest of you guys, I bend over backwards for, and I help you any way I can. And that's the power of written sins. But when we got hacked, that took us offline, and people didn't realize this. We were offline for 3 weeks before Irma. So, and it took me 3 weeks for them to find out what was causing the problem, because they couldn't find it, because it must have been hidden in a way that they couldn't find it. They thought it was the way the site was set up. They thought it was a WordPress issue. It was literally weeks of emails between different people trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. And the whole time, I know something's wrong, and I'm telling them something's wrong, and they're not listening to me, and it was very frustrating. It was something I guess they hadn't seen yet, and I don't know, the timing of us announcing the huge mega store really made me feel like it had something to do with that. But no matter what, man, it was all at once, and then Irma happened, and man, it was a kick to the stomach. And there was nothing more than just wanting time to catch up with all the work. And I had so many cons still to do. And physically, evacuating really hurt my body. I got home and I lost a lot of stuff because of a water heater explosion. All that's going on. All I could have used was a break, because we had announced at the end of Fetish Babies that we were going to Kickstarter again on October 1st. The fourth monkey pops up. So now we barely have internet. I'm going to New York Comic Con. We're supposed to go live October 1st for Fetish Babies, and the fourth monkey is now being announced that it's going to be done. This is all during Irma. Very quickly gets popped up that they're going to go for it. And, you know, I mean, they don't know how long I've been on Kickstarter. They shouldn't be asking me. I'm part of this project. But I felt obligated to help get this project funded. So for the first 2 weeks of Fetish Babies, I barely talk about Fetish Babies. We went a week early because I had internet one day. I actually went to Olive Garden to launch Fetish Babies. That's just funny in itself. It was a Monday, and I was like, fuck it, I'm launching it. I got it set up all over lunch at Olive Garden. And that's the only place I had internet. My son was with my wife at that point. We didn't have any power at our house. So this is like the year I'm having at this point. And the fourth monkey's now live. So the fourth monkey becomes the thing that I talk about more than even Fetish Babies. Even when I go to Tampa Bay MegaCon, I want to get fourth monkey done. I want it funded, so when I come up, I'm not competing with it, because that's something I do feel bad about. I feel bad when I'm talking about my Kickstarter, and I know this is going to sound stupid and naive of me, like I'm a little fucking kid, but I don't want to compete with my fellow creators. I don't like feeling like I'm competing with them, and on Kickstarter, it feels very real that you're competing with them. Because what if someone backs my project and not theirs? What if the choice they choose is me over someone else? And sometimes that is kind of heartbreaking. That's why when I get funded, I usually shut up. I don't talk about it. And we'll talk about this more in a minute about caps. We had a long conversation about caps this week. But when we had a conversation about caps, someone had asked me, and I'll explain what caps means in a minute. But someone had well, I guess we'll just dive into it right now. So this week, we had talked about a debate. It was, to be civil, should Kickstarters be capped once they reach 200% funded and instantly fund at that point? So this has been brought up to me throughout the year, and I found it interesting. And there were a lot of good points made in this back and forth, and there were some interesting things. I just wish Jerry Gaylord has a birthday today. Happy birthday, Jerry. So there had been talk about certain creators using Kickstarter as a cash grab. So I wanted to have that debate with my fellow creators, because I know I have amazing friends, and I know we can have amazing conversations if we all stay civil. And it was a really good thing. Like someone had pointed out, Bob Sally had pointed out, to give him credit, that Kickstarter allows someone to go international into markets they could have never achieved without Kickstarter. Even if they didn't necessarily need Kickstarter and were using it as a platform for pre-orders for a pre-existing book, it also helped bring down the costs, which are great points, but not what this was about. This wasn't about your regular creator. This was about creators literally now using it as a storefront. And now, officially on this, and I've said it, and this is my official position on this, and it's always been my official position on it, because I hear both sides, and I come up with this. I don't run Kickstarter. Kickstarter regulates Kickstarter, and Kickstarter knows what's going on, and it's naive to think that they don't know what is being used Kickstarter for right now. This was meant to be a debate to see what people felt about it and how people felt about Kickstarter. So we were talking about caps, and I remember a creator, and I won't say who, turned around to me and was trying to be kind of a smart ass, but was like, oh yeah, Rob, how would you feel if your Kickstarter had just funded in like a week? If you had your goal right now, whatever your goal is on Fetish Babies, and it just doubled in 1 week, and now you're off Kickstarter, how would that have made you feel that you couldn't go more viral? And honest to God, that would make me feel amazing. Are you kidding me? You're saying that I can get my Kickstarter funded in 5 days, maybe 7, and I'm good and I can go? I'm happy. I'm thrilled. I don't have to keep going for 30 days. Anyone who hasn't run a Kickstarter, it gets very old very quickly, because you don't want to over spam. I've shared things and people are like, oh, I saw this. And here's the thing. Just because you're part of 5 fucking groups than I am, it doesn't mean I'm spamming, because there's probably more than those five groups don't have all the same members. I wish there was one group, and that's what Written Sins is trying to become. The one place you have to share, where there are enough people subscribed to our site, you don't have to share it anywhere else. So if you can't get funded on Written Sins by sharing it, then it's not worth getting funded. That's the ultimate goal. But we're not there yet. We're far from that. I don't have Facebook numbers. I'm not going to be happy until Written Sins has millions of subscribers, and we're about to hit 20,000. So we have a lot of room to grow and a lot of places to go with Written Sins. But for right now, we need to share it. But then you get people who like tag you for spam and, I mean, just asshole shit. So, you know, I would love to be funded in 1 fucking week. By the time the debate had ended, obviously both sides had said their piece, and it was very civil. But there was this one moment where a creator had turned around to me and said, was I saying this because I was jealous and struggling with Fetish Babies? Now, let's talk about Fetish Babies. So here we go. I relaunched Fetish Babies Aftermath. Now, this is during the 4th Monkey. I've now been on Kickstarter. Check this out. July, August, September. 3 straight months of me being on Kickstarter. I'm on Kickstarter technically already at this point with the 4th Monkey. Here I am for my 4th and going on to my 5th consecutive months on Kickstarter, and I know this. That's 5 months. That means this year I've been on Kickstarter 7 months of the year. I'm feeling it. The first 2 weeks, I don't talk about Fetish Babies. We have a horrible opening. I've never had an opening like this. We raised $150 in 2 weeks. I haven't said anything about Fetish Babies. I talked about people in person, and it goes back to this. You know, do you want creators to be your only source of people backing you? Absolutely not. You don't want creators to be your only backers. You want fans. You want people who aren't feeling obligated to back you. You want people who are legitimately interested in your project being your backers. So, I'm back on Kickstarter and I'm tired. I'm tired, man. I've been on too long. I know I have fatigue. And I remember I wrote something that I'm failing at promoting my Kickstarter, and it was true. And I hadn't meant it like a boo-hoo me one. I had meant it like, hey guys, it's okay to be down. We were 2 weeks into the project. We had $200. And now you're looking at the screen here, and you guys can see all the things I backed because apparently the mouse wanted you to see that. But you look over here, we have $1,409 now. I want you to understand, 3 weeks ago, after the beginning surge was shit, we had $250 in the beginning of my surge. We wound up with $1,409. So when I wrote that, I wasn't giving up. I was like, okay, I got to step up and do it. And then I hit censorship and I hit all that shit. But then they asked me, was I bitter or jealous of other people? And that was an interesting question. And I'll be honest with you, my knee-jerk reaction, of course, was I'm not bitter, I'm not jealous. How could I be? Because if I was, why would I be helping everyone else and all that? But then it was one of those moments where, okay, let me see. Let me take mental stock. And I had thought about it on my own. And I even talked to my wife, and I was like, do you think that I could be a little bitter about, you know, struggling with fetish babies and that? And I was like, I don't think I am. My wife knows me. She's like, no, that guy's just full of shit. You don't listen to people on the internet. And I thought about it, and I can tell you this. I'm not at all jealous of the success of anyone else around me. I am not at all bitter about anyone doing better than me on Kickstarter. What I am is envious. I do want to learn how other people do it. But with that said, understand, I've only been, like, a lot of people know that I've been making comics for many years now. Yeah, Jackson. Jackson wants some chocolate. So I've been doing Kickstarter. I've been doing comics for 13 years, but I only just really, this is my rookie year. So my first year where I'm doing comics that are made for commercial use. It's my first year on Kickstarter. So I'm making mistakes. And I'm still learning. And as I learn, I like to share what I learned with you guys, obviously, as today's video is showing. So I share everything I learn with you guys, and I want to do that. So I can say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, no, I'm not jealous of my fellow creators. I am inspired by them. I am so grateful that they are my friends. And I was really happy to get to that moment where I could be like, that guy's full of shit. But, I mean, it is important to kind of realize that it's okay to feel like overwhelmed by things. And if you, like, there are projects I've seen gone viral, and I'll be honest with you, I don't get it. I saw it and I was like, really? That one? And I won't say which one, obviously, but that's my thing to be a fan, and that's exactly what it is. I think some people do get overcharged or get overfunded, in my opinion, for their work. And that's okay. That's my opinion. That's not me being a dick. That's just how I felt about their project. I also get to read some of these projects, and I know the book before you guys know the book. So sometimes I just know that there are problems with it that they're still trying to sell to you guys, and I think it's shitty. Why should you guys have to be paying for something that I know isn't worth your dollar? So, you know, there are things like that, but for the most part, I couldn't be more proud of that. And I'll just name a few people who do an amazing job. Philippe Cagno does an amazing job. Dirk Manning does an amazing job on Kickstarter. Bob Sally's a fucking savage, man, on Kickstarter. These are all guys, and Russell, of course. Russell's amazing on Kickstarter. These guys I look up to. I want to do more like they do. I want to learn from them. I want to pick their brain every opportunity I can. And when we were talking about caps, I understand that the caps might have affected them slightly, but I never thought it would really affect them because they're smart enough to have gotten around the cap. And there's ways. You just, you know, a lot of the creators sometimes put out a number that's funny. Like Dirk Manning made a goal of, I think it was 6666. And he knew he was going to break 666, but it was like a ha-ha funny moment. And he knew he was going to break it. He knew he was going to break the wall down. But if you put a cap in place, that would have been something he would have to consider, and every creator would have to consider. Ultimately, like I said, I see merits to doing possibly a cap, but I don't think that's our place. I don't like censorship. So it was never out of jealousy or anything like that. I just like to have conversations. Like a perfect conversation to talk about is fan art. Fan art's a funny thing, and I'll officially go on record now for Kickstarter. You have 11x17s and all that. How cool would it be to promote my project if I had Spider-Man tying up Barbara, or if I had Batman capturing Barbara? And granted, I might be using costume. There is a Halloween party in book 3 where there might be a Batman cameo, but someone's dressed as Batman. It's not Batman. And I don't imply it's Batman. I quickly show it's not Batman. But I don't do it to sell the comic book. But that would be a great way, wouldn't it? To make fan art. To just do that. Fuck it, man. Yeah, I'm going to make Barbara She-Hulk. And we might do something with the third Kickstarter where we do some Halloween things. Barbara is like a witch or something like that. But it'll always be Barbara, not the superhero. So fan art. Before I say anything else about fan art, I'll officially go on record as saying my stance with fan art is everyone's got to hustle and everyone's got to eat. However, don't confuse people buying your licensed merchandise, your unlicensed merchandise, I should say, for you creating something. You are selling something that a marketing machine has made popular and you're taking advantage of that. And that's just what fan art is. That's just the truth. You can try to spin it anyway, but I'm a great artist, and if it wasn't for my art, they wouldn't have bought it. And you know what? That's only partly true. Because I know for a fact that they're not buying it because you drew it 90% of the time. Sorry, I don't mean to be harsh, but if they're buying the Incredible Hulk from you, that's stemming from them liking the Incredible Hulk. So a lot of creators out there debate this constantly. Does it hurt or help a Comic-Con? So I have my 11x17s and I want to sell them. But how do I sell them next to the person selling the She-Hulk or selling whatever's popular this year? So Stranger Things. Now there's 11x17s of Stranger Things or whatever video game is big right now. We'll go Destiny 2. How do I tell a person, hey, why don't you buy an 11x17 of a project that you've never read before? Because the art is beautiful. And you cannot say that Satane's Ilya art is not beautiful. Chris Madd's art's not beautiful. Tametra his art isn't beautiful. My wife isn't beautiful, but she's not for sale. We don't do that anymore. Don't make that joke. But I mean, there is just amazing art in this project. That's actually from the fourth movie and my friend Russell. That's from Tamara. Will you shut up, Cracker? Silly dog. So, I mean, Carlos's art, don't look at that. Don't tell Facebook it was on the show. The art from Satane is awesome. I mean, there's just such amazing, beautiful art. And here it is. This is the art from Satane. It is, can't look at the Carlos thing, but it's beautiful art. So there's no way you can, if you're talking about art, Satane's art is better than 90% of the art at Comic-Cons. And I'm not trying to shit on anyone. That is just the level of the artist she is. It is mind-blowingly beautiful. And that I've heard as I went to different cons. Remember, 9 tables this year so far. 9 tables so far this year. And I hear how beautiful her art is. Her art beats 90% of the artists out there. There are some great artists that I begrudgingly have to admit might be better, but I don't know. Give Satane time. Satane might get there where she's better than them. Either way, it is amazing art. So I'm always impressed by art. But I mean, if Satane does fan art, that'll sell better than the original characters. And that's what a lot of people kind of get pissed off about. They're mad because they feel like they can't compete. Now, here's the argument that I get all the time about this. And this will just go to it. So someone is selling the Hulk, and that's unfair because they can sell something that's commercial. And me as a creator, I can't sell things that are as commercial because no one knows what Fetish Babies is. And it becomes this big argument back and forth. Here's the God's honest truth. It's being allowed. We don't have a control over it. People are hustling to make money. Are they hurting indie comics? I don't know. Because you take away all that fan art, and people showing up to shows might show up less at the shows. That draws less of a crowd. That affects it. There's a lot of complexity in it. Ultimately, I err on the side of the fans. It's my job to convert fans. If you stop for Stranger Things, I'm like, hey, you like Stranger Things. Why don't I talk to you about Fetish Babies? Because that's a strange project for most people. You know, it's my job as an advocate for not just indie comics, but for myself, my creations, to be able to sell the project to someone else. So that's what I got to do. That's what I got to do. I can't blame someone for what they made. They made a whole picture, and they're selling that whole picture. God bless them. Hopefully Marvel don't get offended. Because let's be honest, man, artists got to eat. And I hear this all the time. Oh, it's not fair when we go to cons. The one problem I have, and I'll admit it out loud, I have problems with people who are behind a table selling fan art that's not their art. There are literally companies now buying people of artists' art, putting them all on one table, and selling hundreds of artists' art to people that they never drew. That I think is shitty. I'll be honest. If it's not your art, you shouldn't be selling it, unless you're the creator of the book. If it's something original, like the Fetish Babies 11x17s, that makes sense, or anyone else's projects. And I'm not trying to put anyone's name out there because, you know, these are obviously my opinions and not the opinions of everyone. It's not even technically the opinions of Written Sins. This is me talking to you, not the creator of Written Sins. And that's something I have to do a better job in 2018 of doing, is separating me from Written Sins in every moment I can. Because I am two different people. When I'm advocating for people, I am doing just that. I am advocating for indie comic book creators. What I'm not doing at that moment when I'm an advocate is sharing my honest opinions, because I can't. And it wouldn't be fair to share my honest opinions. I'm not going to tell you what I think sucks, because that's not fair, because there's a lot of weight behind that. And I can't even do that now, just as me talking to you on this camera, because it wouldn't be fair, because I have a lot of weight behind it. And that's something I have to watch now. I have to make sure that we do that. Oh, sorry, Brian. I'm doing excited. My 2-year-old son with me, and he needed something from the refrigerator. I try to speak louder, but you know, 2-year-olds, they don't really conform at times to the rules of adults. I'm trying to get him something to be distracted. We've been on this for a little while, so he's getting a little fussy, as you guys can hear. I'm trying to get him some bribe stuff right now, so he'll behave. All he wants right now is candy, and I don't want him being a sugar high demon. So, and he won't get out of the fridge. So I do apologize for that. I'm trying to get him calm so we can finish this video. I think I've gotten something to bribe the little boy. Yeah. There you go. Fruit snacks. They're not candy, but they're not candy. They're in between. I'll take the win. Here, you junkie. You candy junkie. There. Have some fruit snacks. All right. Sorry about that. I've got fruit snacks in front of me now, so if he wants more, we can throw some more, because it was a small package. It won't last long. So, as I was saying, so fan art, look, man, it's necessary. It's necessary for it to be at a Comic-Con. It's unnecessary for us to talk about it too much. Artists have to eat. I wish they would promote more indie comic book titles, but it's hard. You know, because an artist pays for a table like anyone else. You want them to go out and you want them to do that and sell your original art. Invite them to your table. You know, make it a table where you're there. But I mean, I support artists eating. I support them doing fan art. I don't support people making a business and making it cheaper. That I'm against. I'm sorry, I'm just taking a drink. So what do I mean by that is that, and some people might not legitimately know this, there are companies out there now buying art that's fan art from artists, mass producing it and selling at their tables for like 4 11x17s for $10. So they're buying it from this company that is, all right, it's, how to say this, because I don't want to implicate something. I have questions over the ownership of the art and whether or not they actually have it in contract to sell, or whether or not they used maybe Google as the provider for some art, and that has happened. And it's a slippery slope. I don't think that if you're not the artist, you should be selling 11 by 17s, or if you're not the creator behind the art. Now, just because Satane has been an artist on my projects doesn't mean I can take any one of Satane's artworks and now sell it because it's part of something that we worked on together. We worked together at one point. You know what I mean? That would be unethical and wrong of me to do. So I think you guys get what I mean by that. So that addresses the 11 by 17 thing. But fan art's not going away. It shouldn't go away. It's an expression, and it's a good way for artists to make money. So I respect their need to eat. And, you know, they need to eat. God bless them. Let them eat. It's all about a hustle. It's all about them making money to be able to continue to make art. Because if they don't make money, they stop working. I know some people will say, well, there are artists who do fan art, and they're never going to do anything but fan art because there's no money outside of fan art. That's okay. Let them do that. Eventually, fan art is gonna change. It's already changing this year. It's not what it was at one point, and that's up for the fans to decide when it comes to fan art. So I know that was a question that I got asked that I wanted to address. I'm looking over my notes because I didn't realize we've been on here for a while now. Let's see. So we talked about the site issues, jealousy versus that. We talked about censorship. All right. We talked about everything on my talking points. I'm looking. I don't see anyone asking any questions. I'm sorry I had to move around so much during the video, Brian. I would have rather not. But let's see what else I had planned to talk to you guys about. Just going through here. Debate time. We talked about the debate. Donate to the, now this is the Christopher Reeve and Dana Reeve Foundation. This is something that was very important to Keith Thomas, who recently passed. I'm asking everyone to, if you have some extra money and you're looking to donate to this in the memory of Keith Thomas for me. I really would appreciate that, and I know his family would appreciate it. They had sent this to me to put up on the site, and I definitely wanted to be able to share it with you guys, so I wanted to do that in the video today too. And if you guys notice, I try to be very socially active. Even on our Kickstarter, I have the autism patch, because I know not everyone might be into fetish and you want to back me because you like me as a creator or the things I do. But I want you to walk away with something. I don't want anyone backing. Because in the first Fetish Babies, we raised $100 for people just giving me money, and that didn't feel right. It just felt wrong. I love $1. If someone wants to donate $1, God bless. I'll take $1. But don't give me $20 and not ask for anything. I wound up sending most people, like I had asked them, do you want this or that? Or I went back to them and asked them, hey, do you want the, and they call us monsters. So I tried to make it right, but you know, even if you want to donate to the autism, do that. You know, even doing this matters. So do that. The next one's just the sharing and debugging site. So that which is probably left over from me debugging it. So I don't plan to go back to Kickstarter until Valentine's Day 2018. The significance of this is that in 2017 on Valentine's Day, we wound up getting funded for the first issue. The second issue is now going to be officially funded by the end of the day, as long as nothing goes wrong. I am very excited to announce this. It's our third date. It's time to get freaky. You guys can hear the messages are coming in right now. I apologize for that. More work for written sin stuff, some new cool stuff coming to you guys. But this is our teaser art. It is a little more sexual in nature. This was the original one for the second comic book, so okay. The second book was going to be originally a jumbo issue. Mexico had a lot of earthquakes. My artist was affected deeply by the earthquakes. Luckily, he's okay. Nothing's wrong. But it obviously, when the earth is shaking and you don't have power, it's very hard to keep deadlines. So we weren't going to be able to officially commit to being able to have the project done in time for it to be able to be printed. So I wound up dropping his part of it because we were going to have two artists on two different sides and make it a flip book. That's just not going to happen now. And That's okay. Things happen, and this is life. You adjust, and that's okay. We made 2 covers now. It's going to be still a very amazing book. We added pages, as a matter of fact. So it would have been beyond a jumbo book. It would have been almost what the page count on each one is looking like. It'll be 30 pages. So that would have been 60 pages in one comic book. So that's more of a graphic novel than it is a comic book. So everything works out the way it works out. But because of the shift, we wound up using Damien's art for teaser for Fetish Babies 2, and now he'll have Fetish Babies 3, which will be Mentor Search. We are still going to make it 4 issues. I have talked about this a little bit, how we're not exactly sure what the future of the project is because Irma did affect the amount of books we have. We will finish the project. I just don't know how we're going to wind up timing it out and getting everything done. The original timeline has been shot because of earthquakes and hurricanes. So right now we're looking to end Fetish Babies in 2018. Still when we wanted to. It's just going to be a different lineup of how. But Valentine's Day will be back. I'm officially going to be off of Kickstarter starting tomorrow for months, and it's going to be amazing to not have to worry about my own Kickstarter. Obviously, I'm going to still be an advocate for other people's Kickstarters and an advocate for Written Sins, but it won't be something I'm working on. So it's a lot easier to promote things that I don't personally have a vested interest in, because I can be a lot more honest just about my fandom. And it'll be nice. It'll be nice to not worry about a Kickstarter or a goal for once. I love Kickstarter. I really do. And when we talk about things like the debate and all that, it comes out of a place of loving Kickstarter and really being afraid of losing Kickstarter as a tool for creators. I don't know where indie comics would be without Kickstarter. I wouldn't know where I'd be without Kickstarter. And I've only gotten to Kickstarter for printing. I've never asked anyone on the goals and all that for more than just printing costs. And that's on purpose. I hope you guys respect that I do that. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I should be trying to get the art back, the cost of that. But I think that's what the table's for. And, you know, maybe one day I'll be able to launch a Kickstarter and have so much support. But I got to earn that support. And that's what these videos are about, to show you who I am as a creator, to show how I think, and to show the fact that I am passionate about what I do. And, you know, if at any point during this long fatigue I've been on with being on Kickstarter too long, I ever made you guys feel like I didn't believe in my project enough, I apologize. That is my fault, and I will make sure not to do that ever again. I know how important it is that you guys are backing me. It was never a lack of belief in my project. It wasn't even a lack of belief in myself. It was a lack of belief in asking for too much. Like, I kind of got into a place where I felt uncomfortable with everything was going on too. I knew a lot of people were suffering with the hurricanes and all that. It almost felt wrong to ask for money. You know, so many people have been displaced because of hurricanes. So, I mean, we got a lot of damage because of hurricanes. I still haven't talked to my goddamn insurance people about it. It's killing me. I have a back porch full of stuff molding, and we constantly have to go through it now, week by week, pulling out moldy stuff. I don't know. It was very hard on me being on Kickstarter so long this year. And you can't know how that feels unless you're on Kickstarter. And being on Kickstarter, as amazing as Kickstarter is, it is a horrible experience at times, because I mean, it's amazing to see all the support you have, but it's hard because you don't want to overshare. You don't want to potentially do things that'll affect other creators and not getting them back. And you're asking people for money in a regard. I mean, granted, we give rewards, and that's why I wouldn't do something that is a non-reward based. And as I said a little earlier in this video, just a little while ago, actually, that I didn't like when people backed me without rewards. I didn't like that. One of the mistakes I made early on with Fetish Babies that I didn't do and I will never do again. So I used to tag people for my thing, because I get tagged in things all the time. So I thought it was normal. And I had a fellow creator, who just very bluntly said, "Can you not do that? I don't like it." And I got a little offended at it at first. And then I realized, well, maybe they have a point. Maybe I shouldn't be tagging people. And I didn't really tag many people in things. I tagged people when I knew they were my friend and they backed me. And if I don't know that you're close enough with me where I know I can count on you, I won't tag you in things anymore. And I get that. You know, I get the privacy. By all means, tag me in anything. I don't have an issue with it. I'm here to help you guys and support you guys. But for me, I don't tag people in a lot of my stuff anymore. And that probably does cost me some backing and some stuff. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I don't want to make anyone feel, again, it comes down to, I don't want someone feeling like I'm bending their arm to back my project. The people I want back in my project are people who believe in me and believe in what I'm doing. If you don't believe in me and don't believe in my project and you don't want to back me, don't. You know, plain and simple. I'll help you at rinse-ins, anything. And my wife says it all the time. With all the money that I spend on Kickstarters for other people, I could probably fund my own books without a problem. And I constantly tell her, well, first off, it's not all at once. And second off, it's not about money when I'm backing those creators. It's about a message to the public that these creators are fantastic. And I wish I could spend more on the creators. I wish I could always buy someone's extreme pack, but you know, I have a 2-year-old. I have to be fiscally responsible at moments. But I do try to support as many Kickstarters as I can, and if I can't put money into it at that point because of the monthly budget, I'll definitely share the hell out of it. I do have to pick and choose what I back and how much I back. I try to do PDFs more nowadays than anything else because I know that there's more profitability. And back to that whole viral thing, one of the fears I've always had is that one of my projects would be viral. Right now, the way that I price things and do things, well, better with this one, but like for Fetish Babies, for our very first project, I lost $500 out of my pocket. Yeah, that's not even talking about how I paid for all the art and stuff. I'm talking about the Kickstarter itself. Became $500 more expensive because of shipping costs. Because my co-creator in this, Alyssa and I, wound up having to pay to ship books to the people involved in the project. One of those people was Satine herself, who lives in Prague. That was very expensive. We sent her, I forget how many books, but it was way more than 20. I don't remember the official amount. She actually likes the clapping thing. It was way more than 20, and it was very much a look, clappy hand. Give some claps to Satine for being so good of an artist. So I mean, it was expensive to ship it to her. It was expensive to ship some other things. We made mistakes. We bought way too many of 11x17s. I made business mistakes that I regret now. I regret even more that freaking water heater destroyed some of the things that we printed, which is so horrible. I'm giggling about it because I don't know. It's either giggle or cry, and I'm sure no one wants to hear me cry. But we lost a lot of stuff. So yeah. Honestly, when you guys first start out, make your comic books. Do that. Worry about your print your comic books and take your comic books to the show. Don't worry about T-shirts. Don't worry about 11x17s. I've invested $2,000 and I've lost probably $1,000 worth of merchandise, and we haven't sold nearly enough of it to have made sense. And now with losing all the stuff that we have lost, it's just a loss. It's going to go down a loss, and it makes my migraine hurt even more, even thinking about it. So if this project had gone viral and I lost 500 the way it was and it went viral in a bad way, and I've heard this before, you can lose, like, if you make $100,000, it sounds great and all until you realize you just lost $10,000 because you're going to have to ship it. And granted, arguably speaking, you can try to shift things and go to backer companies and maybe they can mitigate it to the point where it is what it is. But I'd be terrified of that. None of my projects are designed with the idea of going viral in mind. I know there are certain creators who do expect a kind of viralness behind their projects. And I don't know if I'd call it viral at that point as much as just pure great planning on their behalf. But, you know, for Aftermath, I didn't want it to be viral, and for Mentor Search, I certainly don't want it to be viral. But if you guys want to help me make one go viral, and we do a graphic novel, that would be awesome. Let's make that one go viral. I'll make you a deal. When I do the graphic novel for Fetish Babies, and we have, it's gonna be 150 pages at least. So when we have that 150-page book ready to go, you guys, yeah, let's make that one viral. I'll make sure I'm ready to go viral on that one, but not till then. I'm not ready to go viral. So right now I'm good with what I make, and I'm very appreciative of what I've made for it. Now, in closing, I've talked way too much about myself. I'm not used to talking about myself. I hope this also gives you guys the reason to like me more or hate me more, but at least you understand me more. Probably a horrible joke to make at this point, but you get my point. And then I'm going to do my elevator pitch for Fetish Babies and be out of here, because I do have, it is my 11-year anniversary, and I got to get ready to go hang out with my beautiful wife, who I love, and I couldn't be more proud that I've spent 11 years with her. Marriage sucks. It always is going to suck, and it sucks because it's a lot of work. But if I had to go through this suck, and going through it with my wife made it all worth it. You know, I can still say from the bottom of my heart, I love my wife with all my heart. And there are bad moments in anything we've gone through. When you say bad moments, a lot of people make that mistake that you think the bad moments are about you and the person. They're not. They're about the world around you too, making life horrible. Remember, when I met my wife, I wasn't disabled, and now I am. My wife had horrible postpartum, something that I would like to talk about at one point. So yeah, thank you, George. I appreciate that. So I mean, marriage is always going to be hard. Marriage is hard by design, because it is about sharing your life, and life is messy at times. But I tell everyone, don't get married, because marriage takes a lot of effort. And we've been married 7 years, and she'll tell you it's a lot of effort. Having a kid is a lot of freaking effort. And I love my son. You guys can see I walked away from this video at points, and I'm still watching my 2-year-old. And if I had to shut down this video because he cried, I'd shut it down in a second. But that's life. You know, life's messy and it's hard. Now, because I have a migraine on my ADHD, which is something I want to actually talk about with you guys. Maybe tomorrow I'll do a special about ADHD. But for now, I'm going to stay on point as my son begins to. I'll show it on you. Facebook will get a special thing of what my son does with monkeys. It's cute as hell. But so in 2018, separation of Rob Andersin from Written Sins. If you notice, I've kind of branded myself as Mr. Andersin on a lot of things, and that's because I'm kind of gearing towards splitting Mr. Andersin from Written Sins in a certain degree. Eventually, I'd like Written Sins to be taken over by someone else and ran by someone else. It's not that I don't have commitment to Written Sins. It's that without Written Sins, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I think that it could be a jumping platform for everyone. I will always be involved with Written Sins until the day it either gets sold or closed by me. Until those days, I will be involved in it. I'll be a background guy. I'll make sure that it stays the way it's supposed to be, very supportive of the indie culture. However, and you guys see, this is my site. I haven't updated. This is just me. This is my stuff. I haven't updated anything about my site in a while, and that's probably pretty shitty of me. Perfect example of this card here. There is no more NYR website. There's no more Dark Justice website. There's no more Gothic Blue website. There's no more Mr. Andersin. Well, Mr. Andersin website's still there, and the email's still good. But those things have to be changed. And what's not there, Jax the Andersin, what's not there is, and they call us monsters. I'm doing a horrible job running things for me. And I need to start focusing on me a little bit as a creator. And I have to acknowledge the fact that I have to step back from Written Sins a little bit at times to make sure that I'm running and I'm advocating for myself better. So in 2018, I'm starting it with Fetish Babies After. I'm going to be asking people for their emails to create an email list. So then I don't have to feel like Written Sins is being used to make people support me. I'll be able to run it from this site, Mr. Andersin, and I'll be able to get my works out there this way and not use Written Sins only. And I do hope that leads towards I hope it leans towards people not feeling like I'm using Written Sins because I mean, it's shitty. I created Written Sins because I saw a need for it, not just for myself, but everyone else. But I feel like when I use it, sometimes people try to twist it into something it's not, and that's a shitty feeling. And I'll still use written sins, but I also want to be able to use this and send an email out to this to people who are truly supporters and want to see something from me. Because Written Sins now has 20,000 subscribers, and I guarantee those 20,000 subscribers aren't just for me. They're for other people's works, people who've seen other artists and stuff, and I want to make a list that's just about Rob. And I want to do that so I can feel like I can send something out that speaks to people who want to just support me. But I also want to run Written Sins to be a supportive community. So then that'll give me 2 avenues. So in the future, I might be asking some of you guys to sign up for the site. Don't worry, I won't tag anyone. But I hope I answered some questions. I hope I gave some perspective. I mean, we talked about a lot of things today. Having a migraine, I've talked way too long, not realizing the time because I'm not focused on that. Give me credit for actually being able to have this long talk. Like I literally, sun is bothering me. I feel like throwing up right now because of how much my migraine hurts. So give me some credit. I want a round of applause for having pulled off a long video like this on a day that I feel absolutely horrible. But let's talk about Fetish Babies Aftermath because we're down to the last of it. First off, again, truly, thank you. Thank you to not just the 50 backers who have backed me, but there's at least 20 people that aren't backers who have shared the shit out of my stuff, and I'm grateful for it. And I do really appreciate it. You guys can actually see on YouTube right now and on Facebook because you're looking at this. This is how the screen
on a day that I feel absolutely horrible.
And you guys can see that's actually the live video that does it. And maybe I can adjust the camera better for them. There we go. Well, you know what I did? If I did that, I bet you the view would be better. But I mean, honestly, thank you to everyone who's backed me, who's supported it. But those who are on the fence, you have 11 hours to go. You want to know, well, should I back this project? Okay. First off, yes. The reason you should back this project is it's a finely crafted piece of art. I mean that. I could have just copied anyone else and done a regular standard book, but I didn't. I made a book that made sense to me. And I always make a book I would be something that I'd want. And sometimes that could be a drawback because it is based around my tastes. But more importantly, it takes risks. Our first book is, a lot of people were surprised to find out, is a blog. It's all about Barbara's blog, and one side of the page is her writing the blog. The other side of the page was typically her writing about the blog and what it was. So these images that you see from Satane, and we blew 2 of them up to be 11 by 17. These are the most beautiful parts of the story to me, and the art is just amazing. One side of the book is actually her writing what it is, and the other side of these mental images she has of those moments. So that was a very different concept. In issue 2, I'm going to try new things, of course. I'm going to try different things. We're going to stay with the magazine format, meaning our books are bigger, so, you know, bigger's better. But kidding around aside, the reason we use a bigger format is I like my artist's art to breathe. I always felt like comic books, shrinking it made it tiny, and it didn't really give it the ability. And I understand that there's, you know, you save money smaller books at one point because of the printing the way it was. There was money to be saved, and there was this and that. But now it doesn't change as much, believe it or not. You can actually print a magazine for basically what you could print a comic book for, believe it or not. There's not a huge difference anymore because the way that it's done has been changed. Give me 1 second. Just doing a Jax check. Whenever Jax gets too quiet, I get nervous. So that was a story of just amazing power that I personally am in love with. And I'm in love with it because it speaks to a fetish community for once. And it's ironic because the people who have given it to, who are heavily into fetish, the one critique that I won't even call it a complaint, I call it a critique, is that it's not very sexual. And that was because the first 2 books are meant to build a story. The first one is all about her journey to the New York City Fetish Underground. The second book is now about the aftermath of a bad night. By the 3rd book, we finally start to get more into fetish and more into what you typically expect, but it's not porn. That might be my slogan for the next book. Join Fetish Babies. And no, it's not porn. That'll be exactly what I'll have on top of it. It's not porn. It's not porn. It's desires come to life on print. Something to that regard. Stay with me. I'll make it work. But I mean, a lot goes into a book like this. We have a real human being becoming a comic book character called Sir Victor. This is in the second book. If you haven't gotten the first book, and I'll tell you the damn truth, you should buy the first book because of the art. The second book, again, the art is outstanding. It takes a lot to step up after you have the caliber of Satane, and Tamarta did a great job of stepping up, being able to kind of look like Satane by adding her own feel to it. I've been very privileged to work with some amazing artists, and I mean, I don't show enough of the art, and that's probably my fault. But the art in this project is goddamn beautiful. I mean, I was looking through it yesterday and scrolling through it, getting ready to do my final edit because we added art, and now I want to make sure everything fits. We moved some things. You know, and I do that a lot in my scripts. I start with the script and we base the art on it, and the artist has opinions, and I change my script based on those opinions. The script itself stays basically the same. It's just where certain things are said or no longer need to be said because the art said it for us. You don't want to be repetitive. If your art shows something, don't say, oh, I'm so angry. You have a person's face look angry and have them yelling. So we're in the final edit right now. For those who backed me, understand that we're on schedule. Leah Letterman gets it next this week, and then she'll get it back to me. I'll probably get it back within a week. Then I'll start lettering it. By the end of November, it'll be lettered. In December, we'll go to printer. And then you guys are getting a Christmas present called Fetish Babies Aftermath. So why should you back it? Because it's an amazing story. And I truly believe it's an amazing story. And I made sure it's an amazing story. And I'm going to make sure it's going to continue to be an amazing story. Beautifully illustrated by some of the best creators on the planet, artists on the planet. We have one of the best editors to make sure that my dyslexia is not an issue throughout the book. I have some great artists who have joined the project to help out with some art, between Chris Madd, who's continued it. In issue 2, we didn't really invite another Carlos Villas to join us. That'll probably happen around issue 4. The reason for it was the Aftermath is a much darker book, and it's darker because of it's talking about abuse. And I didn't think it was time for flashy art to join the project. The Chris Madd piece of the art being added was just something I now want to make a thing. Hopefully me and Chris Madd can make it all the way through. Through every book, she'll get a little more tied up and a little different in the position that she was. I'm still debating putting some words under the books. I haven't decided about how that'll be. That's like a final touch. So we're at the final touches portion of the program. All the art's just being gone over one more time. Because and this is just the truth, when you do a project as an artist, sometimes you want to go back and you want to redo some pages. Satane did it. Tamatra is going to do it. I'm sure Damien's going to want a shot to redo something on some pages. But it really is. I mean, even if you're not in the fetish, I wanted this to be a story that was fantastic and powerful and meaningful. And I think you're going to get that from Fetish Babies. The future projects that we're going to get to talk about next year after Fetish Babies, there might become a cutoff point where certain readers might not want to continue. They'll have learned what fetish was on a basic level, and it might not be for them. But Fetish Babies was always intended to be for readers. If you like comic books, it was something that you could read and you could like. I'm not doing this for 2 hours, so I'm going to back off of Kickstarter, gracefully nod out, and thank you. But why to back Fetish Babies? Because it really is a fantastic fucking book, man. I made sure of it. It's got great art. It's got great storytelling. The narrative is from a female point of view. If you were at my table, I would tell you the art is matched by the powerfulness of the writing. At one point, when I saw how great Satane was. I not only got the best editor I could get, but I went back and I made sure to really look at my writing and go, how can I make it better? Okay, Jax is telling me it's time to get off the video. He's had enough time without Daddy. He wants to hang out with Daddy. He's nodding. Yes, Daddy needs to come hang out with me now. Thank you for joining me on Saturday. I know I got a lot of viewers at times. Thank you so much for hearing the lunatic rantings of a madman named Mr. Anderson. Thank you so much. All right, so YouTube will be back on Monday for some cool stuff. Maybe a cool thing yesterday, but this will probably run as WSN News special report, Fetish Babies and the creation of Kickstarters, because it got some cool stuff. If anyone wants to sit through an hour of my ranting.